What's going on, my fellow rock and rollers? Now, when people think of Metallica and lawsuits, people automatically go to the whole feud they had with Napster around the time of the new millennium, but little do people know that 5 years prior, the band went to war with their record label. Why did they go to war with their record label? You'll find out in today's video. Now, 5 years prior in 1994, Metallica sued the record label Elektra Entertainment, which was owned by Time Warner. Now, Metallica's lawsuit was an effort to get the band out of their contract. It really boiled down to the fact that Metallica didn't think they were being fairly compensated for their music, and according to drummer Lars Ulrich, who put out a statement at the time in 1994 saying, "To this day, we're still operating under the same contract we had with those guys in 1984, and we're getting the same royalty rate." Now, up until the lawsuit, Metallica had a good relationship with Elektra, as they found a longtime ally in Robert Krasnow, who was the CEO for 11 years at that point in time. Now, the band began negotiations in 1993 to receive a higher royalty rate, and it was something that Krasnow agreed to verbally, but not too long after that, trouble was on the horizon for the band, as in the summer of 1994, Elektra was taken over by Warner Music, and Krasnow found himself on the way out. Warner Music CEO Robert Morgado would appoint Atlantic Records head Doug Morris to head up the new conglomerate. And Metallica's previous agreement with Krasnow was now out of the window, and negotiations between the band and the conglomerate had stalled. And Metallica would put out a fiery response that took their label by surprise. In September of 1994, they would hit their label with a lawsuit. Now, Metallica's whole lawsuit rested on a California law that was enacted in 1940 to prevent movie studios from forcing actors into unreasonable contracts. Under California law, an individual or entity could be released from a personal services contract after 7 years. And the original contract between Metallica and Elektra wasn't measured in years, but albums, which is common in the music industry. Now, the band was to deliver 7 albums for the label, but Metallica weren't the first musicians to try this tactic to get out of their contract, as Don Henley of the Eagles and Luther Vandross would carry out the same actions against their own labels, with the end result being that both musicians would settle out of court. In fact, it wasn't Metallica's intention to leave their label, they just wanted more money and wanted to force their label's hand, so a lawsuit was the only way to bring them to the table. Now, Elektra Records, for their part, claimed that the band's contract wasn't subject to California law, despite the fact that it was signed in San Francisco and the band's 4 members resided there at the time. Now, following the announcement of the lawsuit, Metallica drummer Lars Ulrich would blast Warner CEO Robert Morgado, calling him greedy and arrogant for his behavior, claiming he was reneging on promises previously made to the band by Bob Krasnow. Now, Ulrich would go on to say, "Our faith in this company has been flushed down the drain. Elektra used to have a reputation as a label that treated artists with respect. Now it's just another place where arrogant business people break promises." And Ulrich would go on to say, "There comes a point where you have to realize that you're taking it up the ass, and I don't like that feeling very much," he concluded. Now, soon enough, the legal battle moved to the East Coast in New York, and much like the Napster battle, Ulrich would represent the band, filing daily reports for his bandmates. Now, Ulrich would become frustrated with the lawyers he was dealing with, and soon enough assembled Metallica's managers, including Peter Mensch and Cliff Bernstein, as well as Doug Morris from the label, into one room, and told them that they don't need lawyers to work things out, and after a 2-hour meeting, Morris offered Metallica a new lucrative deal, and the band in turn would drop their lawsuit and re-sign with Elektra. On top of a higher royalty rate, a promise to deliver new albums, Metallica also retained ownership over all their master recordings. Now, Metallica's first new recording under this agreement would be 1996's Load, but fans would get a sneak peek of Metallica's new material at Woodstock 94, when the band played a small bit of the songs The Outlaw Torn and The Fixer towards the tail end of Seek and Destroy. So that does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Take care.